Thanks everyone for being here. Happy September. I'm going to start sharing my screen and we're going to take a look at what's on the agenda. Lisa just dropped it in the chat as well. But what we thought we could do is touch base on good things that happened over summer. The schoolyard redevelopment cohort ahead of you, cohort 3, is wrapping up construction now. We've got some kind of inspirational videos and good things to share about that. We wanted to just kind of touch base on that Green Schools Conference. You guys raised some money at that, which was awesome. And so we just want to kind of revisit that. And then again, the timeline, we're big picture on track for redeveloping the Neeskara schoolyard the next summer, or this upcoming summer, 2022. And so just want to kind of take a look at that diagram again. Touch base on fundraising. There's some good news on that. And then other updates and our next meeting, which will be in October 5th. Okay, so getting into this, we're going to share some photos and good things. Actually, I did this differently. So this was, as a part of the cohort 3 schools, we installed 2 time-lapse cameras on each of the schools. This would be kind of a similar thing that we do for Neeskara this upcoming summer. So I'm also curious, Lisa and I are curious about like how we can do more of this kind of stuff for you guys next year. So if you see something you like, please say so that, or something that you would like to see more of, say so we can make it happen next year. But this is Bayview Montessori. This was all asphalt, and this is an underground cistern. So this is an example of a time-lapse camera that's super speedy. And then we added some photos. What we're trying to do is have 2-minute videos at the end of construction for each of the schools that go through this. And so each one of these, we're kind of calling out some of the major features, where outdoor classrooms are, all that good stuff. This, I'm going to pause this right here. This is something new that we started adding to the schoolyard projects this year. This is kind of like a outdoor classroom / amphitheater space. We have something similar in the conceptual plan for Neeskara. So there are some lessons learned here with this that will be applied for your redevelopment, but also kind of an open invitation if you want to see how some of these spaces are being used right now. You know, Bayview is a good example. Also, Academy of Accelerated Learning got a very similar space added as well. Keep going. So this is the full redevelopment at Bayview Montessori, outdoor classroom, that amphitheater space, a new like wood log climber, and another outdoor classroom in this space. And again, this was all asphalt. So kind of a similar situation. You guys have a lot of asphalt. Bayview went through something very similar as well. So that's really exciting. I'm curious, as I kind of let the rest of this play out here, would you guys see value in a video like this? How might, if you do, like, how might you use a video like this next year for Neeskara?
Well, I think that this would be really cool for people to see. So you're saying, like, if Neeskara had a video like this, how we would use it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I kind of skipped to the end, but like in the beginning of this, we use like before pictures of Bayview Montessori, and we talk about like, you know, what the conceptual plan all included, all that good stuff.
Well, I think this would be really, really cool for anybody who gave money. Like, yeah. I think for them to see that, like even to post it on our social media, definitely on our website, and then getting it out through email to parents and any other people who donated that we can think of. Like, I think that would be really awesome. People love to see where their money went.
Yeah. So that last slide. Oh. That last slide probably should have all the sponsors and as to help that as well. Sorry.
Yeah. And Justin, another thing is while this isn't ours, it might, if we could share one of another school that has some similar things, it might help us with our fundraising now. Like, this is what we're in the process of doing. This is similar to some of the things we're trying to do so that people who are thinking about making donations can kind of see it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, my grandmother lives right by Accelerated Learning over on 78th Street. And they were very worried last year when they took down the basketball hoops and they were starting to tear stuff up. And what are the kids going to play on? Because they walk their dogs by there. And so I explained it. And now I'm hearing, oh, we went by the playground. It looks nice. The kids are going to love it. So from a community member standpoint, it's being very well received in their neighborhood.
Cool. Yeah, that's good to hear. The other one, I'm hopeful that like a video like that could be helpful in recruitment. So the years following and enrollment, I should say. So any way that we can kind of fine tune that video that you can more easily use for your outreach, like please let us know as we get the, so our intent is to develop these videos within the next month for each of the schools. We'll share those because that's a really good idea, use whatever ones you want to use. But if you could provide feedback to us, I'm thinking in the future iterations, I would love to see like career paths, if that time-lapse camera shows an engineer or someone in the field, like if there's ways that we can connect that to your curriculum.
And I know for second grade, when you say that, so the second grade, the theme of our first lessons in our reading book is engineering. So,
Cool.
and science, I should say too. So I was just gonna say, just watching this video would really spark the kids, and even putting it on Dojo, I think just that visual, I mean, I'm visual as well. And just to see that, this, like Tracy said, where we're going or where we'd like to go, but we really need your help. So I think it's a great idea.
Cool. Okay, so that's something that's in the works. These are just a lot of really good photos of these different spaces. But this is kind of exciting. We were out at Bayview Montessori recently, or just yesterday, and it rained. And so this is, bioswales in action and outdoor classroom space, which is really exciting. Mr. Owens, saw you come in. Good to see you.
Good to see you all. How's everything going for the team?
Good.
Okay.
We're sharing updates over summer, good things that are going on, just to kind of refresh our memories about the schoolyard redevelopment process and the program.
Okay. I don't know if Ms. Snell, did you say something to the team about what we discussed about our status? You're muted. She didn't say it. Okay, so Ms. Snell and I were talking, and she was.
I'm so sorry. I'm like blah blah blah, but you didn't hear a word I said.
Okay, go ahead.
I just said that that Justin was filling us in right now,
Okay.
so we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Oh, okay, all right.
Do you want
Well,
to talk about that part?
We were discussing, so Ms. Snell and I, she was asking me the question of, Mr. Owens, do you know what's our status as far as raising funds for the project and everything like that? And I was just telling her that I think that probably Lisa and Justin probably is going to tell us where we are. They would probably have more of a, can know exactly where we are as far as the financial part of it. And so, yeah, I was hoping, are we going over that today or no?
Yes, for sure. So so I'm going to share my screen again. So that's a good transition to, I like looking at this diagram. So just kind of big picture, where are we? Remember, we spent a full year of conceptual planning. We are now in September, and that shows us we're in that, kind of teal fundraising phase. We have up until the end of December to raise as much money as we can to impact construction that will take place the summer of 2022. So everything is pointing towards this same process diagram that we've been talking about for a long time. Everything's on track. COVID's not impacting it. COVID hasn't stopped it. There's impacts all over the place with COVID, but things are moving well. And so that's a large focus for our conversations for the next few months, all the way up until the end of December. A parallel path that's happening here is the detailed design and permitting. This is something that MPS Facilities is actually a month ahead of time, which is really awesome. and they released the RFP, and they've already selected the design consultant to support your redevelopment. So we developed those conceptual plans, which are really great. What MPS Facilities has done is hired an engineering firm to take this plan and create construction documents, get the permits needed, do cost estimating, all that good stuff that needs to happen to like really firm up these high level ideas. And so what you will see in the next month is a land surveyor out on the schoolyard taking measurements with instrumentation to create maps that the engineering team can use. So we have a design kickoff team, facilities and reflow, and that design consultant on Thursday of this week. And shortly thereafter, you should be able to see some action on the school grounds. That typically goes pretty quick. It's probably less than a day of work. But they're going to be opening up those manholes. They're going to be looking into it. All of it will be safe from students from being able to access any of that infrastructure. But that is action that will be happening on the school grounds in the coming month or so.
Justin, can I just ask one quick question? So we didn't seem to notice this before, and I don't know why, but we've talked about it a lot. We had talked about having trees right along Holly Road where the grassy area is now, because we have fence along there now. And I'm just wondering if the trees along this fence were misplaced. Lisa and I noticed this at the thing we did this summer.
Yeah.
So, like we don't necessarily have to have trees along the fence the way it is there. What we need is the trees or bushes or something along the green grassy area along Holly Road, because we could use that space more or feel better about it. We have been using it more, but feel better about using it more if that area was blocked off. And we had talked about putting like, I don't remember, bushes, something along there. And it's not in that design. And I don't know how we missed that when we.
Lisa, do you mean where the outdoor like classroom performance area?
Yep, so where the performance area is, that right along Holly Road, we had talked several times about putting something there to, to contain the kids and keep them off Holly Road.
Yep.
And, mostly they're pretty good, but you just never know when you have that one impulsive kid or whatever. And we have had kids run into the street before.
We talked about really wanting to have a fence, but not. I think bushes would be better than trees, because kids can't, if we plant a hedge, they can't run through it necessarily. So it really, something tightly knit that will keep them in.
Well, and I think we did talk about how if we did have the budget to do a fence, it would be better to do like a short fence. Like, we're not looking for like chain link like the playground has, but some sort of barrier to the road. And I do know that with the storms we've had over the summer and last spring, we have lost parts of some of those bigger trees around the tot lots too, like some big branches came down too.
So to respond to that, so this is perfect. This is, as expected, to be honest, like, that's the intent of having schools. One of the intents of having schools participate in that annual Green Schools Conference is that you can look at other schools, you can hear from them, you can think through a little bit more critically, get more eyes on the plan. And this, I do remember we were talking about adding that short fence as well. So this is totally appropriate and can absolutely be added to the plan. And that's in part why we have this detailed design and permitting phase. So what's going to happen next is our October meeting. The engineering consultant will be attending our meeting that we've already scheduled. So we'll carve out a good 30, 45 minutes of that conversation dedicated to providing that feedback that you all just shared directly to the engineering consultant so that they can add that into the plan drawings. So that's good. Anything else maybe before we talk about the fundraising efforts? And we do have good stuff to share on that. Is there anything else that we're looking at this plan that we may want to improve upon? Because I'm seeing some things too that I've, over the construction of the last cohort, I would I've been talking with the MPS Phi-Ed department, Brett Fuller, about reconfiguring and standardizing some of the traffic garden designs. And so we've implemented a couple of those now this summer, and they would really like to see more four-way intersections so that students have an opportunity to learn about what to do at a four-way intersection. And so kind of reconfiguring this may be advantageous for like that kind of learning opportunity. Not very major changes, but just kind of additional improvements here and there. Is there anything else that stands out? The shade sales, talked with facilities. They've been hesitant to do the shade sales. You know, Hawley Environmental is a good example of that one. So I'm thinking we're probably going to have to provide a little different direction to the consultant regarding like the shade sale structure. The good news on that front is that the ESSER funding that's out includes currently a budget line item for outdoor classrooms for schools. So I'm really hoping that we can find some funding through the ESSER funding to be able to support Neeskara for the outdoor classrooms, the traffic gardens, which is a different budget item in the ESSER funding right now, as well as there's fitness components with the current budget that Neeskara might be able to make the most use out of. Okay.
Justin, I'm wondering also if when we put those, when we put the stage area in, we do have several shade trees outside that are pretty big. Like if we kind of consider where they are, I mean, I know that it would be nice to have the performers in the shade. And then, you know, like when we've had things like our pie throwing and whatever, like people just found the shade. And like we had like big areas where it was just sunny and people weren't there. You know, I don't know if that helps at all. I don't know.
Yeah, for this space here. The other one, you know, La Escuela Fraternity, they're wrapping up the outdoor classroom there, but that's a wooden stage. And that's a little less expensive than the system that we're looking at here. And that may be kind of a nice pivot because they're making use of some existing mature trees in that area as well. So that's a good point, is like, how can maybe we just don't need a shade structure at all, and we just kind of use the existing trees as best we can. There's some caveats around that, like you wouldn't want to put like concrete underneath the crown of the tree. There's you know, landscaping architecture rules around, you know, what kind of ground cover you do around trees. So we'd have to get creative with the consultant about how to make that happen.
The other
They're
thing we
avoiding.
wanna,
Go ahead, Meredith.
the other thing we'd want to think about is if Dan is going to continue using that spot for gym, where we, you know, where the seating, he's been using the performance area as a gym space. So if the seating and the stage are going to be in the middle of where he's been doing gym class, that might not be the, you know, maybe there's a better spot we could shift it to, so that when he's, so that he still has a large open grass area to do gym on.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
I don't know.
Well, there will be some big grassy areas now, like where the soccer field is and things on the playground.
Oh, that's true.
And he has shifted sometimes from like the front yard of the school to the backyard, depending on the sun. So there is space on that other side too. So yeah, what covering are they using instead of sails is what I was wondering.
Let me bring up some photos.
I don't know if they were doing like corrugated metal or something that's more sustainable, because I know that those sails are beautiful, but they only last for so long.
Yeah, and there's maintenance. It's like a significant cost difference. So like the shade sails are like 20,000, maybe less. The above ground structures are like $40,000 to $50,000 because they. Let me show an example. So I think we've looked at Clement, but that's kind of the best example for the moment. So this is an example of another alternative. So there's a lot happening underground. Those are like significantly large footings that go underground that you don't see, but then also the change in the ground cover below it, that's impacting the cost as well. Now we've tried to make these classroom structures all point south as well, so that someday in the future, they could be retrofitted with solar panels. So we've also proactively added these electrical knockouts and conduits to make that easier some future time as well. Like maybe there's lighting or other things that wants to be added to that, in years future. So that's another component that we'd want to try to orient those spaces towards. Something that we just had a conversation with Nathaniel Hawthorne, and especially due to fundraising totals, one idea that we talked about was kind of combining some of these outdoor classroom spaces. So if we don't have let's say $100,000 to support 2 spaces, can we make one of the spaces larger with $50,000 and then phase in the other one in time? And that may be attractive as well. But that may also help with the getting the grass soccer field. And if I had classes happening over here, if we're not touching that right away, then that can still be accessible until that sod is available. That may be a good transition to go to the fundraising targets. So here's an update on this. So our target, including new tot lots, including all the outdoor classrooms, all of the features, we're trying to target $720,000 there. Just recently, what's come through, which is really exciting, is Sustain Our Great Lakes. That just came in within the last couple of weeks, and that's $120,000 going to Neeskara, which is awesome. That's committed. And so the asphalt removal and the stormwater green infrastructure parts, which are the most costly, that's getting higher and higher, and we're really getting there for that. So that's awesome. We do need to raise money for the recreational improvements and the educational elements and some of the other stuff. Now we're not showing like the funding totals from the MPS Foundation, which have committed to support your school as well. That will likely come in at like the nth hour. And there are several grants that are out there as well that Denise Fields with the MPS Grants Department and Reflow are applying for as well. And then at the conference, you guys picked up $2,000, which is really great. And that money can go towards really anything. Reflow is holding that money on your behalf. So for example, a Gaga Ball pit, if you put together a Donors Choose project, and you get that funded, that's great. If for whatever reason, you don't get all the musical features or all the Gaga Ball pits or whatever it is that you're not getting, that is a really nice flexible funding source that can be used to kind of fill in the gaps after all the major funding is secured. So thoughts, questions on what we're looking at for fundraising targets?
So just the money, I'm just trying to figure out. So the money that you have that says fundraising or committed or pledged, does that include or not include the money, like the $2,000 from the conference gap grant and the $10,000 from camp funds?
It does. So whenever I go,
okay.
So if I change this to be like in progress, it will change that number. So when it goes to committed like that, that means it's totaling up here.
Okay.
So we're about 56% of the way there of our total target. And so, game's not over yet. We have until the end of December. There's many things that are pending. And there are a lot of asks for like local private foundations to support as well. A lot of those foundations, kind of wait until the last minute. Many of the foundations want to be the last dollar in, which is, kind of, it's just nerve-wracking for many of us because we don't want to play that game, but that's the way some play. So that's the nature of things, that's kind of how things have happened. I still think we should be pursuing all the opportunities we have. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so does this include, because there's money that we don't know how to access what that total is, and maybe this is included and maybe it's not, I don't know. So any money that that on the flyers that you made for us and we put out there, and there's the QR code, is that included?
Yep, so good question. So this QR code is going to go to this web page that we built for Neeskara that's on Reflow's page. Anyone that visits this can download the full conceptual plan or the summary brochure. All the information's right here. In the top right, they can click this button that says donate here, and there's information about what to do when you get to that page. This is through the MPS Foundation. So that funding, an update on that, Mr. Owens, has the MPS Foundation emailed you, Wendell Willis, by any chance?
I don't remember receiving an email yet.
And that's likely. I can prompt him on that and CC you, Mr. Owens. What we want to see out of that is like monthly updates. That's traditionally the process for that. So I'll write down to follow up with him on that.
Okay.
So the question, these updates, because we haven't gotten a report yet from the MPS Foundation, they're not reflected yet in this fundraising total.
Okay. And then I also don't know if the donors choose, I'm guessing not the donors choose because that hasn't been finalized. Mr. Menard said that he has about $2,000 committed to that or donated to that. Yeah, and it's not anywhere near the 20,000, but what he wants to do is.
Has anybody seen that? Oh, there it is. I haven't seen that to share it on Facebook at all. I don't think.
Well, Mr. Menard had it out there, but maybe we should ask him to do it again. Although this is what he had suggested. So Justin, Lisa, if you want to chime in about this, he thought that it maybe needed to be broken down into like 3 different donors choose, because sometimes I don't remember who he said, maybe Gates Foundation or something, like they were donating to things that were like this, but he thought that that it was too high, and that's why they didn't because it's, it seemed to fit like all the criteria.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can those be edited like that? Because that would make sense. Because like a lot of there's things for like SEL and mindfulness. There's stuff for safety. There's different categories that if it was broken down by category.
Yeah, like the music.
I'm not sure. I mean, I've done a lot of, and never for this amount of money, obviously. I don't know if you can just cancel out this one and post different. And
it may be that I know he was working with somebody to make sure it was set up right. So maybe that would be something he could look into. But I think that would be smart because, if it's $3,000 or $5,000 ones or $4,000 or $5,000 ones, that we might be more likely to get, what happens if that doesn't get funded by the 3rd then?
Mr. Menard shared that Donors Choose said he would get whatever has been raised as like a gift card. So I think that $2,000 is committed to the project. I don't know how then that can be spent moving forward, if it's for anything or if it has to be in a line with what's in this project.
And I was working with Mr. Menard to give these cost estimates. So he needed to identify a vendor that can support all of these things, which was challenging. So we made Reflow the vendor. So that would, especially the components that are here, like this is something that we can easily procure and support the installation of through construction. So, we've broken it up this way, these 3 major elements. And if we want to break it up further, be happy to support that. I know the vendor selection was a challenge, but we went through all that effort. So if someone wants to take it upon, you know, if we want to follow up with Mr. Menard to figure out how to break it down, I'd be happy to support changing these finances however is needed.
And will somebody just email me the link and then I can put it in like the weekly update or email it all out to staff? Because I haven't seen this yet. So I think that even, you know, if individual staff members who have more of a social media presence and things like that want to post it as well, that might be nice.
And maybe share it with the neighborhood foundation or like the neighborhood community, because there's a lot of people that, you know, might make a donation that we don't know personally, but are sympathetic to it.
I wonder
Right.
if the
I'm on the
Heights-
Washington Heights. I'm on their green team right now. So our first meeting, I think, is next week, Sunday, but they were also talking about giving a donation to us as well. So this would be a good thing that we could disseminate out through that as well.
What worries me is that it's only through October 3rd. So yeah, if we could get that link sent out like ASAP, we don't have very long to get this bumped up a lot.
Yeah, I know that the project was launched either late May or early June. And then I found this link. I just periodically go through all of our schools and look on Donors Choose to see what's out there. And then I pull things together just so we kind of can keep an eye on it as well. But that's probably why it closes in less than a month, just because it's been open all summer long. I'm going to respond to the reminder email I sent this morning and put this link in there for you all. And
Well,
then
and the other-
If
also linked in
Donors
the
Choose
agenda
would
too.
extend the expiration because of summer break, we could
Well,
maybe ask them
or
they could
if
push
it,
through.
and sorry, Meredith, there was a lag. The other thing I was thinking is if it expires in the 3rd, he could go in and write a secondary one, like with a new total for, you know, and do it in pieces like he was talking about. That could be, you know, especially if they're going to fund whatever is donated at the time that it closes. It isn't like it's good to know it won't get kicked back.
The link is also, like Lisa said, she's going to share it, but it's also in the chat if anyone wants to get access to it right away.
It's in the agenda as well. So it'll be in 3 places for you.
Perfect. If it's in the agenda, I can certainly get it. I just can't access the chat right now as easily as I would like to.
So to me, any other thoughts on fundraising? To me, I think a healthy discussion would be about trying to prioritize components on the schoolyard, just so we can provide more direction to the consultant on how to break up the construction documents. So what that means to me is that when this thing goes out to bid to a contractor, there's like the major project, which is like 70% of the project. And then there are, what we've settled on with MPS facilities is that there would be 3 alternates. And so the alternates are things that can be easily kind of carved out as separate projects, and we get separate bid numbers for those things. So a good example of that would be, you know, this performing arts or performing space / outdoor classroom space that can easily be added on later. Or it could be, you know, it wouldn't impact the rest of the project, so to speak, if it didn't have enough money to support it. So with that being said, kind of phasing and understanding the priorities of the project would be really helpful to communicate to the consultant. But I do want to underscore, we aren't done fundraising yet, and we don't have to make really tough decisions until really January. But so to help our
What's hard is that I think one of the biggest things for all of us is the tot lot, and the tot lot is what we can't really have a lot of control over, you know, I mean, like that comes after everything. And I think that's, you know, like reflow funds can't be used for the tot lot, or Donors Choose funds can't be used for the tot lot because we don't have a vendor that, you know, puts tot lots together. So I think that's what's going to hurt us, is that's what the neighborhood wants. That's what our families want. That's what they're, you know, they will see their kids playing on every day. And that's what we are you know, our fundraising may not really be going towards that. So that's hard.
So I know we had talked about getting a sign with the QR code for neighborhood families who are playing on the playground. Is that something we could still do, or is that something that we should do on our Neeskara end?
And then I was just going to ask Justin for clarification. I know time is running out. When we come to that point in January, if it's something that do we just make a decision on what's the most important thing for the school, or like, and I'm just going to use this for example, say for example, the Gaga pits or whatever. Do we make a decision and say, okay, if we don't get the Gaga ball pits, if we don't get that, then what becomes of that area? Like in the process of when they're doing construction and everything like that. Like I know the top lot would stay in place because we can't do anything with that. But what about other things that we might want that can't be funded? What happens then?
It depends on the thing to like ride the fence, I guess. Yeah, it depends on the thing. So, you know, the outdoor classroom A that we have up here,
Okay.
you know, if we don't raise enough money for it, then nothing happens.
So that area, so that area would just stay as is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it depends, you know, when I said like 70% of the project, things like in here, this, you know, we can't simply remove this, like this has to go. So there's like the bulk of the project, which is 70% of it. We have to raise enough money to be able to support that. And that what we've done with the, if I go back to that fundraising target, that's the stormwater green infrastructure. So we've raised, you know, $360,000 for sure. A project is going to happen at Neeskara, pending bids and all that other stuff, but everything is pointing towards the project happening. You know, what that is going to be the bioswale, the grass space, all the trees here, all of these trees. You know, what we probably have to tone down is, you know, the basketball court striping, you know, that I put in like a pretty aggressive striping because I was hopeful that we can make that happen. We're hearing from the consultants that there's, you know, nationwide paint shortages, and this is more expensive than originally intended. So, you know, maybe we just kind of tone that down a little bit and just less colors, less complication. So that's one way to kind of drive down the cost. You know, in the case of the Gaga ball here, that's not necessarily a large expense, but the wood features around it, like the logs and stumps, we've been working with the engineer and the contractor to figure out like what are the cost points, like why are the costs for outdoor classroom like wood features so expensive? And so trying to change the design so the cost of construction is less. So that's one opportunity that we're just proactively going to be doing. The meditation garden, like that's something that could be, you know, carved out as phased in later on, although I wouldn't want to see that happen. So we have to get strategic with each of the elements. What I just put out there was a poll asking for this group here on the call to kind of respond to how important certain features are. You know, kickball is on there, ranking 1 to 5, outdoor classrooms, performing art spaces, musical instruments, and additional wooden play structures. So to me, that's hinting at, you know, a tot lot expansion without saying tot lot. So the idea that we could, your tot lot needs to be fixed. I'm not trying to say otherwise. I'm saying we might be able to have those wooden climbing structures that are separate from that so that you have more play structures in addition to that tot lot. And then traffic garden / bike safety striping. These components, these 5 things that I just put in that priority list in the poll, they drive a lot of design factors and cost estimating. So it's helpful to get that feedback from you all today. And then we'll revisit this next month when we talk with the consultant as well.
Thank you, Justin. And like you said, I think the good thing, and to look at it from a positive perspective, is that we still have time to raise funds. So hopefully things will work out for us.
Yeah. And the question about the banner, so that is something that we, Reflow, can work on doing. And by the time we get together next month, we will have that banner available to look at. That's something that should be pretty quick. I promise we're going to get that to you guys before next month's meeting. If you want, yeah, we can certainly do that. I think that's something quick. Lisa Neeb, you agree, like that's something that we can ask Kevin on our staff to kind of crank out within the next 2 weeks. Yeah. If we don't have a draft to you by 2 weeks from now, then by all means, please feel free to run with it in other directions. But that is something, it's unique. So what we've been trying to be is consistent with all the school projects. That's a thing that other schools haven't done. So, but it could be done. It should be done. So we'll work on that one, the banner for fundraising. Okay, I'm seeing 66% of us participated in the poll. I'm going to close that in about 30 seconds so we can all see what the results are, how we're feeling about this stuff. And again, this is just kind of like this isn't making a decision. This is just helping us gauge where we are for things.
When it comes to the banner, I think if you send like Ms. Rowan and Mr. Owens the draft, I don't think any of us would care if they just approved it and we moved on. Like, I don't think we have to wait until a full meeting to approve it. If it's easier to just send it to them and have them take a look at it and then have them give approval. I think it's better to get the information out there sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. Okay, let's close this poll and take a look at what we're talking about. So kickball, pretty important, got it. So that's good. The thing about kickball is that it drives a lot of the other features on the site because it takes up so much space, not only the footprint of the diamond, but also like where the balls go. So that's perfectly fine. And
do you know that we can't see the results?
Oh, here, how about this? Now thank you for that. I was just rambling. Can you see them now? Yeah? All right. Kickball, so very important, got it. Outdoor classrooms, very important. Good. Okay, so I'm seeing flexibility on the musical instruments. So that could be a good example of something that gets phased in time as well. Those are also good donors choose projects, which are currently on Mr. Menard's list. I'm seeing additional wooden play structures. Totally get it. The play structures are really important. Yes, as we've been talking about for several years or for a while. And then the traffic gardens, I'm seeing flexibility on the traffic gardens. Do you guys do existing bike safety activities on your school grounds now?
We had done it prior to COVID with second grade. I thought it was second graders and fifth graders for a few years, but not long term.
It was just fifth graders, and I think that was a few years ago.
Yeah, I know Liz and Barb were involved and would still be involved with Bike Fed, I thought.
I bet that if we had it on our playground, Dan Winsey would at least do some work with like how to cross the street safely, even if bikes weren't involved, but like how to use the stuff and follow the traffic laws. So I think if it were there, he would certainly utilize it. And I think it is important because we see how many kids run out into the street, you know? So, and I think even like as teachers, if it was out there, we could incorporate it in lessons. There used to be a pedestrian safety thing that we did. I remember teaching kids how to cross streets and walking together in second grade.
Yep,
that
went
was-
back when we used,
We
yeah.
did when Liz Cooney was here. We did something with the bike fed. And we could still reach out and do stuff with the bike fed. They did a pedestrian safety with one of the grades, and then they also did a bike safety as well.
Yeah, because all the fifth graders got helmets if they participated, and then they went on a neighborhood bike ride. And I think Barb Grendel wanted to keep that up too.
Oh. Okay, yeah, it's a, and Fayette is really, their initial, with ESSER funding for their pot of money is they want to get bike, say, traffic gardens on all schools, yeah, elementary and grade schools. So that's a priority for them. So that's good. Okay, this is helpful. And again, this doesn't decide anything. This is just feedback to the engineers to make sure that they have some more direction on how to structure the construction documents. Did I answer the questions about fundraising and what happens if we don't raise all of the funding that we're looking at?
Yes. I just wanted to add to that. I think I mentioned this before, that my church is partnering too, or wants to be a partner. And I just gave one presentation so far. I'm giving another one this Sunday. And we've raised about $500 so
Awesome.
far. So yeah. So I don't know if that's a way, because I know like we talked about these other fundraising things that like to bring people in, like, I don't know, silent auctions and, you know, events that I just don't think is going to happen before December because of COVID. And I don't know if other people want to talk to their churches, their whatever, their book clubs, their, you know, if maybe we can do it that way, that instead of having events and things, maybe we still can do that, but maybe we just need to be like, we just need money. We don't have much to offer you, but we need money. And then we'll have a playground for you to play on, and you can bring your kids, and, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I do
I
want to
can
say,
reach
just for
out-
some,
Go ahead.
what was it? I was going to say that Lou Franks, many of you know Lou Franks, she was a teacher here for many years, and then she volunteered here for many years, but then moved to Minnesota. She also is was a member at Plymouth before she moved to Minnesota. She called me up, and I don't know if she has donated or will donate, but she's 93 years old, and she, I know, and she was like, this is very important to me, and so that was very sweet.
I love her so much.
I know,
She
she's
is the
really
sweet.
amazing.
When I was going through chemo, she was like, you know, in her 80s, and she came and took down my entire classroom and packed it away, because no one as sick as you should have to do that. 80-year-old woman climbing chairs and taking down all my classroom stuff. She is the sweetest thing in the world. I love her.
If anybody has contact with Mary Parsons, she would be, or Denise Ware, they would be like, rally all the retirees. We could really, like, that might be the Neeskara retirees, because they're a pretty powerful group of people that have come and gone in the years that Meredith and I have been here, and the rest of you as well.
The Valete Street Fall Festival is also on the 25th. I can't do all day because I have a lot of shuttling kids back and forth to activities, but if somebody wants to come with me and like just have a table or have the QR code up or information and things like that, that would kind of hit a lot of the Valete Street businesses. And
When is that, Maureen?
on the 25th, I believe. So it's not this weekend, it's the weekend after next, and it's on a Saturday.
Okay.
And then we will also get some information out to our parents, because the open house is on the 22nd, whether it's virtual or in person. Right now it's in person, but outside. And so we can get that information out to our parents also.
That might be a nice time to share one of those videos and say, while this isn't, well, this is what we're working towards. If we found one of those videos that had a lot of commonalities with the things we want.
Maybe we could just put a tip jar out that night and ask for cash donations.
I know it's not on the list, but the brick fundraisers, is that, I just want to bring that one up again, because that might be something that could be done virtually and doesn't have to be in person. Other schools, so Bayview Montessori and Clement Avenue and AAL have found success in that. But if it's not appropriate, no worries, but I just wanted to bring that one up because that may be a good fit as well.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was
I
like
think
a-
that's. Go ahead.
You said that was like a 50% profit or something, right?
Yeah, so you'd sell them at like 25, or you sell them at $50, and then it raises about $25 a brick. And we've heard, from families, I'm just kind of trying to, I'm sorry for scrolling so much, but I'm trying to find, I know we've seen it before, but it's not like reinventing the wheel here. Like we know the vendor, like all the stuff is set up. It's just kind of like copy paste theoretically from, what previous schools have done. It's not necessarily creating a whole lot of work.
About how many have other schools sold? Have they sold 25? Have they sold 500?
Let's go to open.
You like how I made that big jump? There's nothing
Yeah.
in between.
I feel like Bayview was a little less than 100, something like 70.
Yeah, and then we were helping so what happens is you type it in and then, so they were like, what is this? Half of 115 is whatever, 60 bricks is what they sold. So $60, so 60 times $25 is how much they made off of that. So that's better at math.
Okay, but then do we also have to pay for the blank ones? Because that would seem to me like then it's a wash.
Excellent observation. Yes. The 60, let me just finish this math. 60 times 25. So that's, $1,500 that was raised. The what was valuable with the picture I was trying to find is that you're right. We'd have to pay for the blanks. However, they're not as expensive because they don't have to be engraved. I feel like I'm selling the bricks. I don't mean to be selling bricks. That's not, it also acts as nice edging from like the crushed granite to other surfaces. And that is valuable as well. And, if we didn't have that brick there, we would just use this kind of aluminum edging, or we'd use kind of like the wooden edging, but there are costs with the wood and we're able to replace it with brick. So yes, you're absolutely right. There would be an extra expense with that, but we could also limit the area that has the bricks to limit how many blank bricks need to be filled in.
If I remember correctly,
Some businesses on Vliet who were wondering what they could get out of it. Like when Meredith and I went and passed out the flyers, one of their questions, a very common question was, what is in it for me? And I wonder if that maybe it would be a good thing for the businesses anyway.
Right, I was gonna say that Vliet Street Fall Festival is put on by the Business Improvement District by the bid, so it's all of the businesses. And I don't mind, like Justin or Lisa, if you could send me some of that information. I don't mind shilling bricks at that neighborhood, like at the art fair, whatever, because I mean, yeah, I think that that's an easier sell to say you'll get.
It is like permanent advertising
Yeah.
for super cheap, but could we charge
which would be a
businesses-
write-off. For businesses, that would be a write-off.
Like, could we charge businesses $100 a brick and families $50 a brick?
Sure.
Like, it's permanent advertising.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up here was Bayview. So this is loading a little, but one of the thoughts was that we would do a long linear strip of bricks, but that length was longer than here. So that was another way we flexed to be able to reduce the blank brick count, is just kind of refiguring where the bricks go. And that's an option available to us as well.
Do I remember, Justin, that you said something about that the brick edging helped with like maintaining the crushed granite and the wood chips so that they didn't like get washed away, to sort of maintain, like by using it as an edging, that it helped like keep it looking nice and polished? Am I
Yes.
remembering that right?
That is accurate. It won't look perfect, but it does make it look nicer and cleaner. So it does look nice. This was right after a really heavy, intense rain. Trying to find a good photo that shows that. And the project, yeah. It does look clean. It gives it a nice clean edge. Better, but you're still going to see some of this wood chips migrating over. Okay, I know we're over time, but an option, maybe Lisa can follow up after this with more information about the bricks. And so if anyone wants to pick that up and run with it, that's available. You have everything you need to do that. And then we are happy to support. We do have more of the conceptual plan books. We'd be happy to provide those. I think we have like another 10 that are sitting in my office. I've been giving them to other folks as well. We do have, we're planning on celebrating cohort 3 projects in early October. We will be inviting a lot of funders. The funders that come to that event would be there to really support your cohort. There's no need necessarily to fund the past projects. So that's something that's coming up in October. I will have books for Neeskara there to hand out to potential funders as well. And Reflow will have it up on our table with Neeskara as well. So we're trying to reach out to others.
All right, Justin,
Okay.
Justin and Lisa, I got to go to another meeting, but thank you for the in-depth information, especially on fundraising. I think that kind of helps us see exactly where we are. And then when is our next meeting?
Monday, October 5th at 2:45 p.m.
Okay. Okay.
And the engineering consultant will be there, so please do invite your building engineer. They need to hear from your engineer to communicate maintenance, components, and other things as well. So
Okay.
they're not starting from scratch. You know, we've spent 1.5 years talking about this, so they're taking the plans and they're taking it to the next level. So they'll be here at the next meeting.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Ms. Lynch, I'm going to email you. I'll talk to that parent. I'll email you. Okay. Thanks, Justin and Lisa.
See ya.
Okay.
If everyone else has to leave, no worries. Lisa, Neve and I can stick around and answer any more questions. But thank you.